Grab your Glocks when you see Tep Pac. Call the cops when you see Tep Pac.
This season has been a minute. This season has been a minute since you punks thought I was finished. Tepper hits him up.
Oh boy! Talk about waking up to. Today's a day off for me. It's it's Indigenous Persons Day. No more Columbus Day. But so I had the day off. I slept in. I woke up and my phone is just on fire. Just like notifications. What is going on? The Carolina Panthers have decided to part. I like how they say part ways. Just say you fired the dude.
Right. Don't be nice about
it. With head coach Matt Rhule. I'll say this. We were wrong on this one because we've been saying there's no way he's going to fire Tepper in the middle of the season. Boy, were we wrong about that. Yes, there is an interview with or a press conference with Tepper at 3:45, so we're going to be done before then.
Yeah, we'll get y'all out of here before then. Yeah.
So, but man, it wasn't just Matt Rhule. Also falling on the sword was defensive coordinator Phil Snow, which was to be expected. You know, that's Matt Rhule's boy, and special teams coordinator Ed Foley, which was that was kind of surprising.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that might have been if Matt Rhule goes, I go too kind of thing, because the special teams actually had been like one of the bright spots of the season. But Tepper. I'm a little surprised. I'm not surprised at the firing. I'm surprised at the timing of the firing. Jamal, your thoughts?
Man, I'm actually not surprised. Now, did I predict that it would happen today? No. Am I surprised? Nah. I think yesterday was embarrassing for everybody. Not just because we've lost so many games at this point, not because it was a sea of red at Bank of America Stadium. I think it was a culmination of just not seeing improvement week to week to week to week. You know what I mean? And yesterday was probably just a final straw. And every week you look for something to change. You look for something you can say, you know what, man, we can hang our hat on that. That looks to be better. This offense has not shown any improvement in Matt Rhule's tenure here. And what does the NFL stand for, Kaza? Not for long. You do not have that long to rebuild. I don't care about a 7-year contract. If you have not shown marked improvement by this point, which specifically this offense has not, it's time to go. What's my favorite saying these days? We're on the hamster wheel, and that hamster wheel kept on spinning and spinning and spinning, and it just didn't look like we were going to get off, man.
Yeah. Early this morning, Michael Irvin made the comment.
All people.
Yeah, he was on that stuff probably, but Michael Irvin made the comment essentially saying he was surprised by the hiring. Because a 7-year contract, or by the firing, a 7-year contract implies that it's going to take some time, and you're going to stick that out. And in a vacuum, that does make sense. It does in a vacuum. It seems like the Carolina Panthers have decided to chop that timeline short. Like you guys knew it was going to take a long time to rebuild this team, but like you said, if you don't see any improvement in key areas, the areas that it takes to win a football game, then what are you supposed to do? It would be different if the Panthers were like they are now, and then we had seen some slight improvements, especially going from Sam Darnold to Baker Mayfield. People thought we would see some improvements. And as we said on the show yesterday, on paper, the Panthers have some offensive talent. Yeah, they're not loaded, but Baker Mayfield, Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, and DJ Moore, that's not a bad offensive core. And Simply, the Carolina Panthers should not be losing the way that they are.
That losing. They lose. Yep. Thank you.
But
and listen, and it's the same thing with the hamster wheel comment. You're losing the same way every week. And how long is that going to continue? And I mentioned this on Sunday's show, man. I'm looking at the New York Giants, and you look at that roster, and their offense looks miles better than ours do. And you look at the talent on that roster, and you look at the talent on ours, and you're like, okay, why aren't we better? You know what I mean? And Kaz, you said it. It's up to the head coach to make that better. We're out of questions. We're out of analyzing why this offense is so bad. And I think Temper was too. And Temper's like, look, we haven't had the answers in 3 years. It's time for someone else to find those answers.
Yeah, they fired Joe Brady. And I honestly don't think that was a move Tepper wanted to make. Because
that was a Matt Rhule move. And I think Matt Rhule was doing it to cover his face.
Exactly. That was somebody had to fall on the sword, and the offense wasn't good, but the defense had been showing some slight improvement. So, Joe Brady, you got to go. And so, okay, so now you got rid of Joe Brady, and your offense is worse. So, hey, that's on you. That's on Matt Rhule. That's on you, the coach. Also, I mean, that I don't like just made up stats for the sake of made up stats, but that 1-27 in games, or at 1-28 after yesterday, 1-28 in games in which you allowed 17 points to be scored. By the way, that 25 straight games after yesterday, longest such streak in NFL history. That's absurd.
That's unacceptable.
You cannot have a stat like that lingering over your franchise. Like 25 straight losses in which you've given up 17 or more points. That's absolutely ridiculous. You can't have stats like that and then say, well, we knew it was going to take a long time, so.
But even with that being said, man, I mean, not to sound like Captain Obvious, but you're at risk for completely losing your fan base at this point. Look at the stands on Sunday, and we know at the end of the day, Tepper is what? He is a businessman. He was a businessman before he was an NFL owner, and he's looking at those seats, and he's looking at this schedule coming up, and if I'm Tepper, I'm saying to myself, like, man, like this could get really, really bad in terms of fans coming to the games. Like this could get really bad by the end of the season. And look, let me be very clear about something, man. I'm not celebrating with hopes that we're even going to turn it around this season. I'm not expecting us to go on some winning streak and, oh, man, we're going to the playoffs now. No. Let's quell our expectations. Steve Wilkes is inheriting a mess, okay? And you can't fix this mess in half a season. So I want us to quell our expectations a little bit as far as that goes. But change needs to be made, quite obviously. I mean, on so many levels. I'll say that, yeah.
Why wait? Adam Shepard today was trying to make the point, you know, what's the point of firing a coach in the middle of the season? Because, I mean, like you said, the season really isn't salvageable unless you think it, you know, maybe the Panthers think it is, but I don't think that's the case. But my question is, why wait? Why let the mess continue to snowball? Why have a coach that knows that he's gone at the end of the season? Why allow him to continue to coach? Why allow players to be ingrained in this system that's not working? Why not? I wish more teams would do that, and I don't think this is a knee-jerk reaction. Week 3 might have been a knee-jerk reaction. Week 5, no, not a knee-jerk reaction.
It's long enough.
That was the last 2 weeks were ample time to show and prove. I'm not saying that the Panthers should have won those games, but an embarrassing loss to San Francisco. And then a loss in a game that really you should have won against Arizona, and you could have won.
And Kaza, let's look at Ron Rivera's first 2 or 3 years with the Panthers. We're losing games, but we're losing close games. Okay, and in the beginning, were we losing games the same way? Kinda, but year 4, it was different. Now, albeit we had Cam Newton. Okay, however, Matt Rhule needs to take some of the heat for personnel stuff too. So we're not just we're not just talking about him being at fault for just coach stuff. He's at fault for personnel stuff as well. And so there's really no excuses, man. He got the groceries he wanted, and he didn't cook the meal the way it needed to be cooked. I'm still in the Bill Parcells thing, but y'all get what I'm saying. So he got fired on a couple of different levels, man, and it wasn't any need to wait till the end of the season at this point.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think that Matt Rhule had a huge say in building, because that's literally the reason why Tepper brought him out of college. He was able to build these college programs into being, solid teams. And I don't think you didn't bring him here for his pure coaching ability.
Right.
And I know Matt Rhule was a bit of the hot hire. A lot of teams were looking at hiring him because of what he had done at Baylor. But I think that you brought him along, and then, of course, he's going to say, well, hey, if you want me to build a team like I did in college, then I'll need to have the same personnel decisioning like I had in college. And considering, since Tepper took over, we've been shaky on who the real GM is.
Yeah, right.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Matt Rhule had that kind of decisioning power to say, hey, I want Baker Mayfield or whatever. So
yeah, I got a question for you, man. Are we surprised at this point that it wasn't Ben McAdoo getting fired? Because, we also have to talk about Phil Snow has been let go. We talked about special teams guys getting let go. Why wasn't it Ben McAdoo, in your opinion? And I'll give mine after you go.
I just think because I think the glaring issues were Matt Rhule created, not Ben McAdoo. These issues existed before Ben McAdoo came. So you got to go, okay, you got to look at the common denominator. It's Matt Rhule. Now, Ben McAdoo's rope is very, very, his leash is very, very, if I'm Ben McAdoo, then I'm calling the person who used to videotape plays for the Patriots, whoever I got to call to make sure I have an advantage on Sundays. Because, y'all worked in an office before, when the dude beside you get fired and you be, while they packing up his cubicle, you be like, oh, yeah, I need to.
Let me tighten up.
Man, yeah, that's Ben McAdoo. So I think he'll be safe to the end of the season, but I wouldn't expect him to come back.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, Ben McAdoo hasn't done a great job either. And there's questionable play calling. But for the reasons you just said, this offense was dysfunctional before he got here. And I think it's beyond a coordinator at this point. We may be talking about personnel. We may be talking about a different head coach. And like you said, there's a common denominator. That common denominator is the head coach. And if the head coach has so much control over the coordinators, it may not even matter who the coordinator is at that point. Hopefully, and I don't know this for sure, you know what I mean? I don't know if Wilkes is going to kind of just lay off of play calling to say, hey, McAdoo, do what you do. This is your baby. I'm laying off. I'm a defensive guy anyway. I don't know that to be the case. I don't know if that was the case when Rhule was here. But at the same time, like you said, it's the head of the snake. That head of the snake got cut. We'll see what the rest of the body does now.
I mean, I don't even know. I haven't heard who is going to replace Phil Snow as the interim defensive coordinator.
The running backs coordinator, I forget the name. I wish I had it pulled up, but somebody we didn't even know existed on the coaching staff.
Yeah. So, I'm not surprised at Snow and Ed Foley because they were Matt Rhule guys. Ed Foley was an assistant for Matt Rhule at Temple, actually. But I wonder, though, if it was kind of we're rolling with Matt, and if he's gone, then we're gone. Or if it was y'all were rolling with Matt, so y'all are gone if he's gone. We're cleaning out everybody.
The word with Phil Snow was if he's going, I'm going. Initially the word on him was, well, I'm Matt Rhule's guy, and if he goes, and I go. And then 5 minutes later, it was announced that he was fired. So
yeah, I mean, Phil Snow probably could have kept his job. Honestly, the defense was good enough to where, we have our thoughts about Phil Snow, but the defense was good enough to where he didn't have to be a complete scapegoat. But I'm sure that him and Matt Rhule were friends. I mean, they've been coaching together for forever.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be kind of crappy if, like, you know what I'm saying? If you got fired and I'm like, well, Jamal, hey, you know, hey, bro, sorry, but
sorry, man. It's Kaiser Construction now, buddy. Right, buddy.
Yeah, so you know, I get that. But part of me thinks, could this be a tank? I mean, Al Holcomb as the defense coordinator, really?
Really? And listen. I think everybody who's a Panther fans agree with this. And if there's somebody who does disagree with this, let me know. Steve Wilks is set up for failure, ultimately, and for lack of a better term. Is there, again, going back to what I said earlier, man, I don't think there's anybody who's going to predict a season turnaround with coaching changes right now. Steve Wilks probably won't even be with the Panthers next year if I had to predict.
Yeah, I would be surprised,
right,
if he was still with the Panthers.
So with that being said, I mean, to me, it looks like full-on fire sale tank mode, and even add to that, I'm interested to even see what the Panthers are going to do at the trade deadline as well, because it's important to know, man, we only have 9 draft picks in the next 2 years, so I really want to see what the Panthers do at the trade. Well, the next 2 trade deadlines actually,
but yeah, especially considering that Baker Mayfield is injured now. Injury report came out, high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
We probably won't see him much over the next few weeks. So say he's going to miss some time. PJ Walker will be starting next week against the Rams. Rest in peace, PJ Walker. But advanced RIP, PJ Walker. You see what we do to quarterbacks here.
You better please just run,
yep.
Go.
Yep. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Panthers were, you know, tanking does work in the NFL, doesn't work in the NBA, but in the NFL, it kind of works.
So listen, Kaiser, look, man, am I a bad guy to bring it up? Baker Mayfield's hurt. We got 1 quarterback on the roster.
Call him.
Do we want to do this today?
Call him. You know, how many times does Cam Newton have to die on the cross, so to speak, for the Carolina Panthers?
But let me explain something. Not just real. Here's where I'm coming from with Cam Newton. Not even from a football standpoint. I'm talking about to get any goodwill from your fans back, because it is at an all-time low right now. Mm-hmm. I feel like even next the coming home games, you're not going to see any more fans show up more than usual.
Oh, okay, well, let me play counterpoint here for a second.
All right.
Do you think the fans are tired of that? Okay, we bring Cam back and we do it like we did last year. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Cam Newton's back!" He rushes down. Everybody dancing and dabbing.
Listen, sensible fans maybe, but you and I both know we don't have a lot of sensible fans.
That's true.
All they want to see is number one come out that tunnel and the smoke coming out, and him dabbing and all. That's it. It doesn't even.
Cam Newton, there's this energy about him where you're right. When he comes out the tunnel, everyone's excited. You don't even know why. You be like a little kid. You be like, oh my God, Cam Newton's here. And, you know, I just think, though, that the fans might grow weary of that, though, because they did last year. Cam Newton came out. We beat the Cardinals. Everyone was happy. We sucked the rest of the season, and everyone was like, get Cam out of here.
But listen, there were butts in the seats. That first home game against the Commanders, the football team, whatever they were, there were butts in the seats. Yeah.
Couldn't even get tickets.
And listen, man. Let me provide my sensible explanation of this, man. I don't even want to do that to Cam Newton. Let me be clear. Yeah. I don't even want to do that to his career. I don't think it's fair to Cam Newton to get off the couch and try to learn this dysfunctional offense at week.
No. Ben Orlovsky figured out the offense in like a day. So,
you got a damn good point.
All the defense is not the offense, so Cam would be. But I agree with you and Ethan here. I don't want Cam to be the fall guy anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I always feel like the Panthers did Cam Newton wrong. That he never really got to go out of his on his own accord. As far as being a Carolina Panther, last season did a little bit to kind of smooth that over. But yeah, I don't want Cam Newton to come back and not be the Cam Newton we all know and love on the field. And then the Panthers fans are going to blame Cam as if this sorry ass franchise didn't suck before he came. and then we got to hear Cam say in every press conference that it's his fault when we know that man.
We know it's not.
Last season, I got to do better. No, Cam. No, it's not on you, bro. It is not on you. So yeah, Cam Newton. Actually, I hope the Panthers call him and Cam in his cigar shop, right, chilling in a cigar shop in Atlanta, smoking like a $500 stick. Is like, nah, bro, I'm good. His YouTube channel is blowing up. His podcast is blowing up. He good.
Yeah, and then he makes some cryptic post on Instagram with those little weird letters saying,
Now, if Luke Kuechly come back, then
hey, man, hey. I'll go back to the game. Luke Kuechly come back.
Bring Luke Kuechly. What Luke Kuechly doing? He fine now. His head's okay, right?
he looked like he was in shape the last time I saw him, buddy.
Yeah. He can still knock somebody out. So, all right. Before we go, the Rich Eisen show. Rich Eisen said that he thought, based on some stuff he had heard, that this was
reliable source.
Right. This was a move to hire Sean Payton next season. And that Sean Payton is not happy being an analyst on Fox. That's where it's Fox.
Right.
And he wants to get back into coaching. But the problem was that the Saints still actually retain his rights. So whoever wants him would have to make some kind of deal for him. And teams are not really teams don't really trade for coaches all that much. It happens. Yeah. It happened last season. But it's the Saints would probably want a lot from the Panthers for Sean Payton because that's in division, rival. But David Tepper, coaches don't fall under any salary cap rules. You think David Tepper wouldn't? I mean, he just essentially gave Matt Rhule $40 million to go home.
Right.
Do you think he wouldn't give Sean Payton $70 million guaranteed?
And to further your point, do you think David Tepper gave a damn about the Saints-Panthers rivalry in the past? He doesn't care about that. He wants to win.
I'll say that, hey, if anybody could fix this team, y'all know how much I hate the Saints. And
No. We.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the Bounty Gate thing was real. People tried to play it out like it wasn't a big deal. No, that was real. That happened, by the way.
No doubt.
And Sean Payton was complicit in that. I don't know if he was like the mastermind. I don't think it was like the mastermind, but he knew it was happening and he looked the other way, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
His team was winning. And then they got their little Hurricane Katrina Super Bowl trophy, and that's what it was. Right? Okay.
Right.
All right. So, but having said that, one of the reasons the Saints have been perennially good is Sean Payton. The guy's an offensive genius. You trying to tell me that he couldn't find some way to make Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and
listen. He made Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater look like all-pro quarterbacks. I'm sure he could get us right as well, man.
Yes, absolutely.
And shout out to our brother Rodney, man, because he put out a tweet last night, and Mike Florio predicted this. Mike Florio, who runs ProFootballTalk.com, predicted, hey, if I know Dave Tepper like I know him, he will fire him tomorrow. And this was last night, and it happened. so I guess this is part of the reason why it's just not that shocking to me. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's I personally, I think this makes the season more interesting going forward, because there's this like nervous uncertainty You know, we don't expect the Panthers to be good now suddenly,
Yeah.
but
All right, man. We got 5 minutes, man. So I guess this is a question that needs to be asked. So if not Sean Payton, let's say Sean Payton says, "Hey, you know what? I don't think this is good. You know, I'm gonna stick with TV, or I'm gonna go to another team." Do you have a list? Do you have some candidates that maybe we should go look at? Not really.
I really don't. I felt like back before we hired Matt Rhule a few years ago, Eric Bieniemy was a guy that we were very high on.
Right.
But just from what we've heard, he's really not, and he doesn't really want to leave where he's at. Which is understandable. Otherwise, I don't know if there's anybody that could just like turn the Panthers around like that.
Yeah,
I just really don't. Sean Payton, maybe, but you got a guy. Who's that?
I got a guy. So before Matt Rhule was hired with the Panthers, Jamal Darby, was very high on Jim Harbaugh, and I'm going to keep banging that drum.
I thought about that. I'm watching the game yesterday, and I thought, what would it take to get Jim Harbaugh?
A lot of money. A whole lot of money, buddy.
David Tepper's the richest person in the NFL. That's like, you know how Jerry Jones has that famous quote, "There's no check too big that he wouldn't sign again."
Yeah.
David Tepper, Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones is rich, but he's not even David Tepper rich.
That's crazy, right?
Tepper is like ungodly. Yeah. Like $15 billion cash in the bank rich. And he would sign that check if he thought that Harbaugh, would turn this team around. He would do it in a second. I thought about that yesterday, but I thought I don't know if Harbaugh, because if that was the case, so many teams would be trying to get Harbaugh, and we'd be hearing about it. Someone say Flores. I think that would be a good pick. I thought he did a pretty good job.
I think D'Amico Ryans is going to be a hot name. Coming up, man, defensive coordinator for the 49ers, man. I think that's the name to look out for toward the end of the season, man. Brian Flores, I'm not saying I wouldn't want him here, but I think he'd be problematic for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not faulting him in any way. I want to be very clear about that. But just what's going on with him in the NFL gives me pause. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. He would bring some publicity with him that the Panthers might not necessarily want, but I think he would be a good coaching candidate. But Toby Taylor makes a good point. Is it more of the QB situation and the head coaching situation?
Well, Toby, they're damn sure related. I'll say that much. But here's what you need to look at: we're going to be so bad. We're going to finish the season so bad. We're going to be in play to go draft a good young one coming up, and I think the coach is going to look at that and say. They either want to deal with it or they don't. And that's as simple as that.
I do feel like you got to make a splash with your next coaching hire. You can't, the hot shot college guy didn't work.
Can't do it anymore. Yeah.
And you can't do that again. You've got to go after a name. As much as I hate when teams do that, because that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
I don't want to sound like Hornets fans saying, man, Mark Jackson, man. Mark Jackson, dog. I hate to sound like that, but at the same time, the Panthers need to go for the proven commodity, man. I agree with that.
Yeah, you got to go with the guy who went. A lot of people are throwing Mike Tomlin's name around, which I mean, Mike Tomlin obviously is a great coach, but
is he ever leaving Pittsburgh? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, David Tepper has that Pittsburgh, that Steelers connection. So there is that. But I don't see him coming to Carolina. Why would he leave Pittsburgh? Because Pittsburgh's no longer good? Well, the Panthers aren't good. So
okay, hold on. I'll play counter argument with that one. All right. You may look at we're looking at the Pittsburgh situation right now. They're not very good this season. We can agree there. But maybe you look at that and you say, I just need a fresh start. I've been here for how long has it been there? 10 plus years?
Hey, look at John Fox. Remember, John Fox his time was just up here. He goes to Denver and gets to the Super Bowl. He doesn't win it, but he gets to the Super Bowl.
I think everyone would agree if there was any type of separation with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, nobody's going to sit here and say, well, they fired him because he's a bad coach. I don't think anyone would say that. It would just, his time just may have been up. Now, this is us kind of wishing and praying, man, but I actually think it will ignite the fan base like we've never seen if we were to hire somebody like Mike Tomlin. That would be probably the biggest name you could probably hire if you did something like that.
Oh boy. All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna let y'all get your popcorn ready for this David Tepper conference. I need him to come in like Suge Knight at the Source Awards. You don't want your owner all in your videos.
Oh man. Hey, man. Hey, man. It's such a good day in Charlotte. Like, hey, we even got Gordon Hayward playing tonight, man. Can the day get any better?
Sit down. Sit Gordon Hayward down. Why?
Hey, man, give him 15 minutes to sit his ass down.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, we're going to get out of here, man.
Y'all don't want to, just hit us up and let us know what y'all think about the press conference later. This is going to be very interesting. I got my popcorn, got my beer ready.
Can't wait.
I can't wait. Y'all take care of each other. We'll see y'all on Sunday.
Peace, y'all.